The other thing is most of you know this. If you've been dealing with MySQL, you've probably been hearing about 5.5 since December. If you haven't, you probably need to go out and read Slashdot. It's free. It's there. Download it. Now comes the fun part. Questions? Yes, sir.
I usually try to stay in the repositories for whichever Linux distro I'm using, which, sorry, isn't unbreakable. Have you heard any kind of a buzz of whether the major ones like Debian are likely to go to MariaDB instead of MySQL in the future?
Are things like Debian going to go to Maria instead of the standard Oracle distro of MySQL? Let me do a little anecdote on the side. Both MySQL and Maria were based on daughters of Monty Widness's daughters. MY was his oldest daughter. It's actually pronounced Mu in Finnish. And Maria was his other daughter. From what I understand, and this is what I'm picking up on a developer list, the Debian folks are working on 5.5. It's just that they've been swamped lately. I know it's been a bugbear for them, and it's been a bugbear for us. I don't know if they're planning to go to Maria or Percona or any other builds, but it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for them because right now there's not a lot there. They're great products. The competing forks have their uses, but right now they're kind of in a niche market underneath MySQL from Oracle. Come on, folks, got to be more questions than that. Students, if you want to learn a valuable skill, download a copy of MySQL, get it running on your laptop or whatever server you can. Pick up a couple books, work through there. About 3 times a week, I get phone calls from folks saying, I need a MySQL DBA. Well, how skilled do you need? I just need someone who knows how to run a MySQL database. There's big demand out there. So if you're a student in this area and you're attending the show, please learn this. It translates also to other databases. Yes, sir.
Kind of on the same note, you said the whole, you get against the yell at the Oracle guy. I don't want to yell at the Oracle guy, but I see all the tension out there. People being kind of antagonistic about Oracle having acquired something. What kind of relationship do you guys have? And the big thing I see as the alternative is the MariaDB guys, much like the split between OpenOffice and LibreOffice. And I'm just wondering, what kind of relationship do you guys have with the Maria fork? And do you think you'll end up sharing code much, or is it more the wall between the two of you?
Well, the funny thing is the developers tend to, this was a question about how friendly are we with the various forks. We're even friendly with the folks from Postgres. To put it simply, I don't think anyone's going to reinvent the wheel. And I don't think anyone who has a really great idea that's going to keep it GPL'd is not going to be against it going off to the other forks. Right now, Monty Program is borrowing Percona's version of InnoDB, and a lot of their ideas are coming back into the original fork. And they're still playing with the Maria, but haven't really seen that come to fruition. Next month, they'll probably have a GA release, but I'm not quite sure what they're doing. It's more of a tempest in a teapot than the knockdown, drag-out, Ali Frazier type thing. Anyone here heard of Drizzle? Well, a couple years ago, some of our senior engineers thought that MySQL was getting too complicated. They want to make an even faster, lighter weight web version of MySQL and call it Drizzle. Drizzle has a lot of features taken out of MySQL. They've refactored it, and it runs rather quickly. And it's a nice little product. And they just came out with their first GA release. Once again, they're kind of a niche product. It runs really well. I like it. I've been playing with it for a couple of projects of mine. But once again, you've got something that's fairly new on its first GA release, and we'll have to see how it goes. By the way, when I say a niche product, I'm not denigrating them. Kind of like Ferrari is a niche product to General Motors. So I'd rather have a Ferrari than a GM car if anyone's giving them away. Yes, sir.
What do you think about a lot of the stuff that's non-relational on the web these days? MySQL,
It depends. What's more interesting to me is some of the columnar databases like InfiniDB, which really doesn't hit its sweet spot until you have about 25 billion rows. And then you go after their MPP version, which gets about 200 billion rows. It starts being interesting. Things like Hadoop are like drinking from a fire hose if you're not used to doing it. And it's not just bringing back one record. It's going to bring you back all the records. So there's extra work there. And if you're doing something like trying to go to Facebook and finding the friends of your friends, first you got to find your record, and then your friends' records, and then your friends' friends' records. That's a heck of a lot of SQL load. If you're doing something like that with Hadoop, it's a fairly simple process. You set it off to run, come back in a couple hours, and your data's there. Redis I like for quick little things like counters and things like that. The document storage has always been a problem. The 30 years I've been playing with computers, there's never been a really good way just to take a document and just store it someplace and then pull it back on certain queries. It's always been kind of messy. I'm hoping they come up with a great answer in the next couple of years.
How about session management with things like, memcaching and stuff like that?
Memcache. For those of you who don't know what memcache is, it's a quick way to store data. Your application comes out and says, I want Joe Jones's records. It checks memcache, see if it's in the cache. If not, it makes a database call, feeds it back to the cache, and then returns the data. Memcache is a very valuable tool. I love it for simple lookups. It's rather great. And there's going to be some more news on that later this year, but I can't go into it. Hopefully, next April you'll see.
Well, I mean, I guess really what I'm searching for is how, there seems to be sort of an onslaught in certain segments of the web community against relational databases, more towards things that are more like tag-oriented, hierarchical stuff,
Yeah.
that harkens back to code cell things that are very old, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't give you a lot of the things that you get with the relational engine, and your overall ability to do ad hoc navigation of the model is just non-existent.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, from the standpoint of what you're seeing, in terms of is there a concerted pushback from the MySQL community or relational community as a whole?
I wouldn't really call it a pushback. It's more like a curious searching and see what they're doing. A lot of data that in our world is relational. A lot of it isn't. There's a lot of big data problems out there, like the friend of a friend on Facebook.
Well, it's still refactored as a recursive relation.
Yeah, but it gets messy, and there's always different ways to try to skin the cat to try and find the optimal way. It's more like people want to get their data back in different ways. It's kind of like, do you want Chinese food or Italian food tonight? It depends on how you want your data. But so much of the data in the world is set up to be relational, and I think it's going to stay that way for the next 50, 60 years. Probably proven wrong. Oh, yes, sir. Well, from what I've been reading on the developer lists last couple months, the Oracle developers and their management have been going through to make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and there's no run-on sentences anyplace. Basically, if you have a product and you're embedding a MySQL database and selling that, our licensing folks would like to talk to you. If you're running your website and it's backed up by MySQL on your Drupal or Joomla site, no problem. If you're really, really sketchy on it, call your local office. There's some gray area here and there that it's kind of like arguing how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. But for right now, if you're selling something with an embedded database, buy a license. If not, you might want to just buy a license anyway. Where is that in respect to GPL? Well, right now, if you're reselling it, the MySQL iterations of this, we want you to buy a license. If you're just using it yourself, don't worry about it. I'm sure Mad Dog would probably yell at me for screwing up some of the subtlenesses of it, but that's my understanding of it. If Oracle changes it today, people will just take what's out there right now and fork it and start their own version. Yes, sir.
I think the original idea was that since back when it was just MySQL, since they own the copyright to the code, they can license it any way they wanted. So they will license it such that it's GPL. But if you want a copy of it that's not GPL encumbered, they will sell it to any business license. And they can do that because they own the copyright. That at least was my understanding.
Yeah. The licensing stuff I tend to stay away from because it's too much like law school. And I had an opportunity to go to law school, and after spending 2 minutes with a bunch of law students, I decided that's the least popular thing in the world for me to do. Thank you for that explanation. Okay, yes, sir.
MemCached haven't been brought up. I'm not a developer myself. I'm more of an admin consultant, and I'm pretty familiar with needing to set up MemCached for various applications. And but unfortunately, the applications needing to specifically have MemCached support built in, I've always kind of wondered why the built-in MySQL query cache isn't more comparable to the performance benefits you get out of MemCached or even PHP ABC.
Usually, people are setting up the web server separately than the database server. If you're running it all in one box, you can kind of get away with it. If you're distributing stuff with different web servers and 1 or 2 database servers, you want to probably use Memcache.
Actually, even on a server in a model, if you're using an application that has MemCached support, it will blow the built-in MySQL query cache out of the model. It's not subtle. I've always kind of wondered why.
Yeah, well, a relational database isn't designed to drive web traffic like Memcache is. That's your question back there. So who's going to win the drawing today? Okay. According to the clock on the wall, I have just over 3 minutes. If you need to see me, I'll be at the party tonight. I'll be around until Friday noonish, maybe 1 o'clock. Address is david.stokes@oracle.com. Most MySQL folks that you run into are very passionate about the product and will talk to you about it at great length. You might have trouble getting us to shut up. But we all love the product. If you have any other questions, you're too shy to raise your hand, hit me up sometime. And other than that, thank you very much for coming out. And I must say this is a wonderful conference. You folks who live in this area, you have a great thing here. Thank you.